This is Hunter Wade at the Athletes Lounge podcast. I'm here with my guest, Tyler Norton, and tell us what you do, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, yeah, I'm entering in my 11th year with the Dodgers. And I've been 8 years. I was a strength and conditioning coach. I covered all the levels, from low A all the way to triple A. And then the last 3 years, I shifted into like a more coordinator role, where I'm still a strength coach, but then I also assist on the scouting side, where I assist our scouting department on more like the athleticism qualities, and just try to help evaluate on that front. And usually I travel the country in the spring and summer helping on that. So a little more time at home. I'm based out of home. I have 2 kids now. So it's a little more favorable for the family.
So, do you do you college? Is it mainly college or high school scouting?
It's just really I cover the top players in the country. So it's high
Okay.
school, college. Yeah. So it's pretty much anybody that's eligible for the amateur draft and they're top and our department likes them. I'm probably going to go see them.
So, you graduated from University of Indianapolis, correct?
Yep.
So, are there any training tricks, or are there even any things you learned at UIndy that have helped you with scouting and your and the training part of this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anytime you play the sport that you train in, it just helps you to be a better coach. You kind of been through what the players have gone through. You just understand the demands of the sport. So that just gives you a better coaching lens of how you can help the player. So yeah, that was definitely extremely beneficial. And then Coach Steve Barrick, he's a strength coach there and still there. He let me on as as a volunteer. So anytime extra time I had in school, I was a volunteer helping out all the other sports there. So I just got my feet wet and really started my passion for strength conditioning. Um, so yeah, it was definitely a big start in my career. It was just kind of like playing baseball there and then just volunteering for him.
You you mentioned that you helped with theater sports and the program. Is it what are there any? I'm sure there are. Are there any key differences between the way the training goes for different types of athletes?
Um, Back then, I was just kind of like, small fish in a big pond. I was just trying to learn as much as I could, be a sponge. And he did all the programming. I was more there to facilitate. So I can't recall as far as back then. I know he did a great job as far as getting like the buy-in, the team setting and stuff like that. And they definitely got stronger, myself too. But now, yeah, training athletes, I cover all sports here at TNT Fitness, where my gym is in Fort Branch. And I don't, my main goal is to develop athleticism and develop the person, so that's my main goal. And, athleticism is like movement, it's strength, it's power. It's like, it's translating their training to the field. So it's kind of like tying a bunch of qualities together to make them the best version of themselves.
So you're a reliever at UI, right?
Yep.
The Was there any do you have any stories about, being a player in college baseball or any times where you just went off and you really want to mention it?
Uh, Maybe not on here. No, it was fun. My senior year, we went to the World Series. It was a great group of guys. That was probably one of the funnest times, going to Cary, North Carolina for the World Series and just kind of like going to battle. We had a really good team. I don't think we were favored, to make it out of the regional. And just watching our team come together and our coaches believing in us, I still remember that went up in Michigan to advance the World Series. So, yeah, I mean, it was a really cool experience, and I mean, there's tons of stories like you can bring up, but I met individual goals I wanted to do, and definitely the team goals, which was ultimately make it to the World Series. We didn't win, but it was a cool experience overall.
So you mentioned that when you were more in the conditioning department, how did your, I guess, schedule work? Did you have to go to LA? Did you have to go to OKC, or where were you? How were you like?
Well, Yeah, so pretty much in February, I was packed up. I was headed to spring training in Arizona. Um, and you start there every year. The whole organization starts there every year, major league and minor league. So I started there in February, and then April 1st is usually when the season started, or end of March. Each year was different. The first year I went to Great Lakes, Michigan, which is our A ball team, and then 15 and 16 I went to Tulsa, which is our double A team, and then 16, 17, 18, and 19 I went to Oklahoma City, which is our triple A team. Yeah, so pretty much, you go to spring training, it's a grind every day. The guys are getting ready for the season, and then it's pretty much you leave Arizona, you go straight to the affiliate, and then yeah, you play 150 games. So there's pretty much, and then I came home in October, so it's kind of grueling on the family part. It's like you get definitely it's a grind there, but you have your winners that were off. Um, so yeah, that was kind of like my schedule for the whole summer, for the strength conditioning part.
So because the Dodgers have been so good consistently, have you worked with anyone that you're like really proud to say, yeah, I worked with that guy?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I worked with pretty much all the players. I mean, this is
Yeah.
my 11th year, so I've had like spring training. I was in big league camp. I go to Dodger Stadium here and there, like September call ups when I was in AAA. So I've worked with all like their major league team. But like going through the minor leagues, it's kind of seeing cool. Like Cody Bellinger's honestly a friend of mine now. Just keeping in contact with him, Kyle Farmer, Corey Seager, Will Smith. So those guys that like they were kind of like entering their minor league career when I was like in the lower levels. It was cool watching them develop and see where they are now. I still keep in contact with them. So
I I was hoping you would say Seager because I'm one of the rare Ranger fans that exists on the earth.
there you
So I
go.
got a Beltre jersey over there somewhere. I didn't frame it properly, but but no the I was gonna say that, and you guys, and so you go up to, so you were going over to LA for when the 40 man got recalled
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yep.
The Yeah, and you guys have been consistently good, so the talent there has been kind of absurd.
Yeah.
Some of the pitching rotations have been kind of crazy recently.
Mm.
Yeah. So the well, so now I guess what does your schedule look like? We talked about what your schedule looks like when you're kind of like, in the affiliates. Now that you're scouting, is it like, do they call you and it's like we need you to go to Cincinnati on Friday to watch this kid play, or kind of how does it go?
Um, this could be like a very extensive topic. It's we start out in the like early January, or we'll get our fall looks. Like I'll hop around to a couple colleges. Honestly, just to build relationships with the strength coaches at colleges. Just because I'm going to call them in the spring and try to get information, and just kind of see like what kind of training they're going through at those schools, just to kind of better understand our player when it comes draft time. Yeah, we'll do some fall stuff. It's kind of chill. And then in the winter, it's kind of our downtime, which I'm home a lot more. I'll do some like computer work and just kind of like revising the 23 draft, just seeing how we can like um, get a better edge for the 24 process. And then once the spring comes around, like January, we'll start having workouts for high school kids in our satellite locations or regional area locations. And then once the college season starts, I'm pretty much gone every weekend. College, they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So typically I'll fly out or whatever. I'll fly out on a Thursday and go watch 3, 4 games of baseball. And then I'll come home for a couple of days. And as far as like they like talent ID players are area scouts and regional scouts, and then they kind of like then as a group of like the national level or my scouting director, he kind of gives me a list of players that he wants me to go see, and I'll do that early on, and then our kind of like our big group of players will kind of like shrink down, and then we'll start to like kind of like move towards those guys, and then like the last April, May, and June, you're focusing on those that narrow group of players and yeah, I'll go see them again. The high school guys, I travel to their high school and I usually do like some sort of assessment. Like I travel with force plates, and I'll have them jump just to kind of create some sort of engine, objective data. And then, yeah, just kind of like, that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, I'm on the road pretty much from January till, um, honestly, August, really. Uh, but I'm in and out of home, which makes it better for my family and a bit better for me, honestly.
So there's a lot of, I'm not sure if you're aware, there's a lot of rounds in MLB draft, the amateur draft.
Yeah, there's
So
20 rounds. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So how do you, I don't want to say scout that low because baseball is a little bit different than like basketball and football because guys have to mature before they get to the bigs and no one gets
Mhm.
immediate call ups. Uh, uh. So how do you like determine what's a first round talent, or who we were going to take in the later rounds? Because by the later rounds, I think most people would say it's just throwing darts at a board. But what do you look for in like maybe a lower round talent that's you know uh
Yeah. I don't really like in my grading system that I developed. I don't really develop like the value of the player. That's kind of our scouts and our cross checkers. They do that. I'll throw in my. I have a grading system that I did with like a frame, like their engine, like how they move,
yeah
their overall athleticism. I go into detail on that in my reports and maybe how we can help them. And like the scouting orders projection, I try to like see like maybe like their 1 year, 3 year, 5 year of how I could like if they would come in the weight room, how like we would develop them. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much how we do on the scouting side. Like I don't really have to value the player.
yeah.
I go look at him and I pretty much tell if we can help him or I think there's more ceiling there, or I think it's more floor than ceiling. It's just kind of different. It's just baseball's so different,
Yeah.
position to position, player to player. And I try to look at like some of the lower level or the mid tier guys, because some of those guys, that's why the Dodgers draft well. It's because we spend some time with those mid round guys, and that's when we can like we really see like a path to help them, and like so we can make them like so they're mid tier, but we can make them actually a big leaguer, and like so it's like, oh wow, the Dodgers drafted him in the seventh round, and like how many other teams passed on him, but we saw value there. So
So I guess like theoretically you'd see like a skinny first baseman in like high school, I'm just saying. And like you determine that this guy could like put on muscle, based on like, things you're seeing. Because some people just can't put on muscle and can't get bigger, however much to try. Is that like part of your job?
yeah, I mean a little bit. I have a frame grade. I try like that's like the when the assessment helps. I get their weight. I can kind of look at their stature, their anatomical, structure and just kind of see, it's kind of like it's very subjective, which, is the hard thing about scouting. You don't get a ton of objective data besides the baseball stuff and then my force plates. Um, so yeah, you try to get as much information as you can and then you make the most educated decision you can make, whether it's their parents' height, weight, whether what, what I'm saying, like just looking at them, like if it's like a more narrow frame, or does he have like width in his shoulders, his wrist, his knees, like there's just different things you can look at.
So switching gears a little bit here, you train athletes. Well, I'm going to call the Evansville area, even though it's,
Yeah.
technically Fort Branch. So I guess tell us a little about that and tell us about, some of the stuff you get up to there.
Yeah. I opened up TNT Fitness and Performance 6 years ago. Um, it's a membership based gym, 24 hours. But yeah, I just kind of growing on the athlete side. When I'm home, that's pretty much when I train kids, and I'm fortunate enough that word of mouth has gave me a stable flow of athletes that come and see me. Um, and it's like I said, I'm just fortunate like how many kids I have and how many kids around here that are just committed to the weight room side. It's like obviously it's a growing thing. Like kids want to get stronger, kids want to get faster, but um, in my plan for each kid, I really try to develop the kid first. But then I also, you want to maximize their like goals and their like on field potential. So anything I do at TNT Fitness, I want it to translate to like whatever sport they play.
So, little broader scope here. So, is there any part of the job, your several jobs, that would surprise us? I mean, what uh I guess what would not be a common thing which you people would think you'd have to do what you do?
No, not really. I try to keep it simple. People are probably like, well, how's he work for the Dodgers now? How's he home training?
Yeah.
It's like there's like hot times and there's times like, I mean, I'm not home. I can't train him, so I try to do stuff virtually. Um, but no, I think kids know that I have high expectations for each kid because I have a lot of passion in it, and I think people would tell you that. And I have high expectations. I'm really just results based. I want the best for the kid, so I'm going to try to maximize that. But no, I try to keep it simple. My training and my life, I stay under the radar. I don't do a lot of advertising or anything like that. I just pretty much, um, yeah, keep it simple and try to let the results speak. When the kids are playing on the field, just kind of let that do the talking, and I just go to work.
Any challenges that you have juggling the gym and uh the fact that you do technically work for, or you do work, not technically, you do work for a big league baseball club.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Dodgers are my priority first. That's like no questions. Like if they ask me to go, I'm going.
Yeah.
I just honestly, I'm family first, so it's like family, then it's like the Dodgers, and then like I'm not the guy that just sits around, so like I have to pretty much go. My wife will say the same thing. So any free time I have, I'm passionate to help kids. That's kind of like I just like it. So like in my free time, um, that's my time to train. But ultimately, yeah, it's the Dodgers first. And then any extra time I have, that's usually when I allocate to the local athletes.
So you get recalled, or you did get recalled for after September call-ups. Is that just like the most busy time of the baseball season?
September?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of players. I mean, it's changed now. Like when I was down there, like they could call up the whole 40-man roster.
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot of players. So we just had to be on our toes. And, you know, the guys that played all year in the big leagues, that's like kind of their time to get some rest, get their legs back under them, then you're trying to see the younger guys um, flash their potential and see what you're going to get, in a big league atmosphere. But now the rules have kind of changed where they can't call everybody up, so it's not as like a massive numbers. I think they can get up like 28 or something like that.
So they bumped it by three.
Yeah. So there's there's a 26-man roster now, but yeah,
Yes.
it's like 28 or 29. So it's not that many people can like get up there in September.
The makes the equipment manager's life easier.
Yeah. Those guys are workhorses.
The when when you're working in single, double, triple A, are you getting probably more so double and triple A here? Are you getting calls from the Dodgers strength and conditioning coaches and seeing what uh development on certain players and certain players, I guess, body types and things like that?
Yeah, we're pretty much in constant communication every day. I mean, the Dodgers, we send guys up from AAA to back down. Like, so when a player goes level to level, we have to call the strength coach and pretty much tell him like, hey, this is what he's been doing, just to maximize, like, make that transition seamless. Especially from the AAA to the big league level. So yeah, we talk daily, or we did, and then that's pretty much trying to like make the transition back and forth seamless. So yeah, it's pretty much just we like one of the things the Dodgers strive on is communication, like the steady flow of communication, so there's nothing missed.
So you've had to work with people who have been on rehab assignment then, right?
Yeah, yep.
So I don't know. I can't think of any examples off the top. I don't know who's been on a rehab assignment, but how does that work? I just use you Darvish or whoever you want as an example. How does it work? Like if they're like rehabbing off coming off IL or uh DL.
Yeah,
Don't know why I said
yeah,
IL. DL.
they'll it's kind of different, just the extent of the injury. Some guys will rehab and stay with the team or stay with the affiliate in the minor leagues. And if it's kind of like a long-term injury, they usually go back to Arizona. And then they'll do their thing. And then after they complete their like rehab process, the treatments, and then they'll kind of start like they'll start playing in the minor leagues to kind of like their return to play progression. Whatever if they're out for a month, they're gonna have to probably have a 7-day progression to get back or whatever. So it just kind of depends guy to guy and injury to injury.
Is it different with hitters and pitchers?
On the training side,
I guess on the rehab side, like I feel like it'd be weird, or it's more rare to see like a major league like top three pitch in the rotation pitch a AAA game than like it would be like a hitter. I don't know if that's real or not. I just feel like that. Maybe
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
because that
we
Bryce
usually,
Harper game got so much hype when he played in AAA for a couple games a couple
yeah.
years ago.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I was in AAA for 4 years, and I mean Kershaw made like 3 or 4 rehab appearances in my
Oh,
time
so I'm
there.
wrong.
He actually made one in a AA too. I mean that's like a stepping stone. We don't really care like minor leagues or whatever. Like we just want them, we just want them progressed accordingly and get back to the big leagues as fast as he can, as strong as he can.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of our guys, because Rancho Cucamonga, our high A team now, um, or low A team, sorry, low A team, they're 45 minutes from Dodger Stadium. So that's usually like the most convenient way. Um, and then, but if they want, like, if they've missed some more time, like we want them facing like closer to big league talent before they get back up there.
yeah. I was gonna say I actually knew that Kershaw made at least one start, and those guys don't care because those guys know the whole goal is to get him back up to the majors. I assume so. They don't really.
Yeah.
They all know it's part of the system. Uh,
Yeah.
the Though I will say being a double A batter, 21-year-old or 22-year-old facing Kershaw seems like
Yeah.
seems like you'd ask that game to be expunged from the records.
Yeah.
The the how much I guess you'd have to, but how much does the individual athlete I guess shape the training side or the training? Yeah, 'cause different guys have different body types, different guys lift different weights, different guys, eat different. I
Yeah.
guess how does that affect what you put into them?
Yeah. I mean, well, each spring training, we assess every player each spring training. So then like we get them into a system of like how we're going to program this guy, like what are their needs. And then the position player or pitcher, that department meets with us, and like we just like we work in one cohesive unit, which is like why the Dodgers are special. We're not like siloed, like weight training, pitching, hitting, like medical. We're just in one big silo working together. So each spring training, that's why we value spring training so much. We get that assessment. We're like, okay, these are like, this is the vision of this player, and this is like how he needs to train to get there. We're just not throwing a blanket program like this guy he needs to be strong. Like it might be a more coordination thing. It might be like a power thing. It might be a strength thing. So we try to individualize it. We do to each player, and then they have a workout on their app, and everything's individualized. We don't have like a team training. They come in the weight room, they do their own program, and like the strength coaches are walking around facilitating that.
So the you if you're I guess you are at like in LA during September when you were on the strength side. So where are you during the game? I guess are you at the stadium? Are you?
Yeah, I usually the strength coaches sit in the dugout.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I thought that. I just didn't want to
yeah,
assume
we're in
and
the
be wrong.
dugout, so we count like hard sprints. Um, so we just try to like manage the workload of the player. So if you have conditioning scheduled that day and the guy ran whatever 11 hard sprints that game, if he went 3 for 4, he's probably not going to have conditioning. So we just try to manage the workload. So yeah, we're in the dugout. We obviously preach hydration. We preach we're just there to help. And we like it's like yeah, we're in the weight room, but like we want to show the players that we're there with them in the battles. And yeah, and that's some of the best conversations you have with players is just during games. You know what I'm saying? You're just obviously it's 9 innings of baseball. It's going to take usually two and a half, 3 hours. So, you have some of those good conversations with players, and building that relationship with each player goes a long way.
What do you, I guess, grade during a game? Uh, how guys are taking off. Like if a guy goes to steal second from first, do you grade how a dude takes off? Have you ever had to change the way someone runs? Because it's not absurd to hear in sports teams try to tweak the way guys run or walk. Zion being the prevailing example recently.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly looking at movement. I think that's the best. Like, yeah, we assess in spring training on like the joint to joint approach, but yeah, we're constantly assessing movement from a base stealing standpoint, from a hitting standpoint. Like, if we're seeing this guy like sway, like maybe it's a hip thing, the hitting coach comes up to us and asks, like, "Hey, like so and so struggling to get into his hip," so then we go in the weight room and test them. So like, and we don't know that unless we're in the dugout watching. And that's kind of like one of the big pillars of our development process is like us watching their on-field movement stuff and just how we can maximize whatever it is, pitching, the hitters, base stealing, heck, in the outfield, a drop step, or watching an infielder work through a baseball. Can he stay low to the ground? So yeah, it's a constant visual of our players, and it's just an everyday process. We play every day, so the more we can help them, the better.
So we talked about when guys go on DL, maybe go on assignment. Well, what if and you said if a guy has a tear or something a little bit more substantial, a bigger injury, they go to Arizona. Are you guys in contact with you the team is are you in the contact with the player trying to see how their, I guess, like their hamstring or whatever's recovering, whatever they hurt? I guess for like surgical injuries or required surgery, I guess what's the procedure about how you try to get them back to work?
Yeah, we have a rehab strength conditioning coach in Arizona. So it's the same thing. Like if he's going up to LA to make his debut or he's going up to LA to play, it's the same thing if he's going to Arizona. Like, hey, so and so had a hamstring strain. He's coming to you. We haven't really done much. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna go to Arizona, he's gonna get examined by a doctor. And then they're gonna make the plan of care there. And then when he's ready to come back, the communication shifts, like he's going to tell me what he's done, or what he likes to do. You know what I'm saying? Like we keep it individualized, but we also let our players make decisions too. Like it's a two-way communication street. So like if they like to do stuff, we're not going to make them do stuff. We're going to work together. So like each player has like some things they like to do. So we try to like honor that and make it a two-way street of development.
So are there any moments when you're in the dugout, I guess any level, where I'm sure you love being there every time you're there, probably. Uh, but is there any moments that stick out to you where it's like, I don't know, if you had a walk-off home run you're in the dugout for? Is there any moments that were extremely fun, beyond the normal level of fun? I'm sure it already is.
Yeah, I mean it's just being in a big league stadium, man, seeing the crowd is crazy. And then the Dodgers usually draw a pretty good crowd, and then Dodger Stadium's 50 plus thousand every game. And I've been fortunate enough that I was in the dugout on three clinches when they clinched the division. When we clinched in Baltimore, we clinched in LA, and we clinched somewhere else. So like in September, that's usually when you clinch a division title. And um, what 9 of my 11 years we won the NL West. So just being a part of that, the champagne showers in the locker room and just being around the group of players and just realizing how special it is definitely a blessing.
Uh, I was gonna ask what your favorite slash least favorite opposing team is. So the Giants are Padres, right?
I'd say the Padres.
Yeah, but it's gotta be one of the two. It's gotta be
Yeah.
the one of the two other hyper competitive teams in the division. Though, what's it like when you see you was a Dodger, right? Like I swear Darvish was a Dodger.
Yeah. Yeah. He
Yeah,
played with
yeah,
us in 2018 or 19.
yeah. Now, of course, he's a Padre. So
Or,
when you see someone like you, is it like, well, I still like that guy. I just can't
yeah.
stand the rest of their
Yeah, it's player to player. I don't really have like that hate. Like I don't really
No,
think my
I know.
players have that. It's just more like they want to win. It's not really player to player. Like he was a nice guy around us, so I can't say anything bad about him, and I wouldn't really say anything bad about a player.
That's
Um, but yeah, you just want to win, and like they just kind of like some tendencies that teams do. They just kind of like they just poke at you in a different way, like the Padres. So and then like they want to beat us, and they've thought that they're like up to our standards, whether it's right or wrong. It's just a rivalry, so it's all cool.
yeah, and rivalries are fun because without rivalries, everything would be boring.
Yeah.
The
So
I was gonna say the sports would be boring without rivalries. So I will say, and you don't work with them on this side as much, but the pitching staffs you guys have had when you've been there have been pretty and been pretty crazy. The talent there has been pretty absurd. Is there any guys, because you're a pitcher, any guys you really enjoyed seeing work because they were just so good?
I mean, obviously, it's one of the best pitchers of all time. Well, watching Clayton Kershaw go to work, it's every day, it's consistent. I mean, like I wish I could bring all my kids that I train around here, and just watch him. It's every day. It's diligent. It's he doesn't take a day off, so it's like um just watching him go to work was absolutely incredible. And like honestly, our minor league players that go through it, when they get called up and they're like, if you watch baseball interviews on national television, you hear those guys are like, wow, watching Kirsch go to work, but yeah, Julio, Dustin May, like all those guys, it's all those pitchers, like they're up there for a reason. Obviously they have talent, but they do their work and they have to pitch every 5 days, which I don't think people realize how hard that is. And they throw a bullpen in between there. So like they have to take care of their bodies, and they really rely on us. We probably spend the most time with starting pitchers because they pitch every 5 days and they work out 3 days in between. So you really develop a relationship with that side with those guys.
I was gonna ask because I needed that because he's so important to my Ranger fan. And did Darvish really have this an absurd number of pitches he threw?
Yeah, I mean he threw a lot. I mean, I can't answer like exactly. Just I had a limited time with him,
Because
but yeah, I mean, he would throw a lot of pitches,
I
bullpens.
I know the seven individual pitches was a thing. I was like when he first got to Texas, that was like the thing. And I don't think he ever was really bringing out all seven because I just think you would almost get too lost bringing out seven pitches in the major league game. But he really, I mean, he developed a new slider within the last year. So like,
Yeah, he's excellent at spinning a baseball. I mean, he's probably one of the best, honestly. And then he top on his velocity with it. He yeah, I mean, most the Asian culture, they do throw a lot of pitches, but they're at a young age, they're very technical with how they, you know, spin the baseball or soften the baseball. So yeah, they do a great job over there, and it sticks with them, and but like managing that workload in a major league setting, like you also have to have location. It's just not like I got 7 pitches I can throw. I'm like, if you throw it over the middle, it's going to get whacked, So like you got to make sure you can command those pitches. So typically, guys sit around like 4 pitches or three at the starter position.
the yeah, and I will say a lot of those guys that come from over there, a lot of them don't they have a lot of weird pitches. They don't just have like a normal they won't have a knuckleball because no one has a knuckleball, but they'll have
Split.
some random pitch that just like two people in the league throw, and they'll be one of the guys that throw it. You ever worked with a knuckleballer?
We had a
I don't
couple
know.
guys in AAA. We had
Yeah,
a Eddie Gamboa.
I didn't know if R.A. Dickey ended up there at some point because sometimes some of those guys they're
No.
hard to like where they end up by the last couple of years. Sometimes it's like because like
Yeah.
Bartolo Colon played for 50 teams and
Yeah.
there's 30 in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple guys like we just sign them as a minor league free agent, and they get up to AAA, and they try to fit. We had one of those guys. It was pretty fun to watch. I mean, he threw it hard, and there's a couple of times I was his catch partner, so um, I got to experience it firsthand. So yeah, that pitch is special, but it's hard to throw.
This is my last question because you said catch partner. Are are catchers a different, just completely different training regimen? Because they're so unique. They're the
Um,
most unique thing on the field,
I
almost.
think this day and age, it's even harder to find, honestly. If you can find a two-way guy that can catch and hit, I mean, it's just the demands of the position, how hard it is, and it's like, when we hit, we want to use our lower half. Well, catching, it wears on your lower half. So it's like it's just a lot of exertion on the body, catching every day. So those guys like Yachty and those Salvador Perez, those bigger guys that just manage those guys they used to play 150 games. But now when you find like a Will Smith or a Real Muto, it's like those guys are unicorns now. And the catching's so hard to find, even in the draft process. If you're a catcher, and like you immediately fly up the in the industry, just because like catching's hard. It's hard. Like if you can find one and you can make him like a franchise guy, like you got something.
Uh, he was a Dodger. Piazza's the best offensive catcher ever, probably, and I
Yeah.
don't think he ever technically graded out as a very good defender, but he was so good offensively. He was valuable.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's all I have. Plug your academy.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you having me, and look forward to maybe conversating with you later. And yeah, appreciate it.
So this has been Hunter Way at the Athletes Lounge podcast, and this has been Tyler Norton with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Thanks for the interview, Tyler.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
that's all I got. Hey guys, this is Hunter Way at the Athletes Lounge podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe where you can. Thanks.